Peter Thor, a wealthy mine owner. He uses his expert knowledge of high explosives to rid the world of organized crime. Of course, Tim. Of course. That's exactly what a wealthy mine owner would do, wouldn't it?
I guess so.
In Peter Thor's apartment, police have cornered Dead John's gang of racketeers. Dead Johns. That's funny. Oh, no. We got weird facts. I'll go back to weird facts in a second. All right. In a country farmhouse, of course, because that's where a gang of racketeers would hang out, in a country farmhouse. Well, at last, that gang is washed up, but the radio continues. But police have been unable to capture the gangsters. They want to take them alive, and the gangsters have a seemingly inexhaustible supply of ammunition and guns. It's like they're a militia in Oregon trying to get snacks. Do you remember that?
Yeah. That was such an obscure reference.
I know. That was a reference for all the OGs here who have been here forever. All right. Peter changes into a special costume, wearing a belt which contains sticks of dynamite. This is a job for me. This is just the job for me. Oh, this is my favorite. Look at this. Dynamite tightropes walks across the river on a power line. Too much traffic on the
powers.
It's not. I mean, because in later, there's no consistency in these Golden Age books, for real. So like while he does this, like in this issue, in later issues, he's using the actual like sticks of dynamite to like propel himself through the air. So and you'll notice like he doesn't have the T on his chest right here, but in later issues he has the T on his chest also. So like there's just zero consistency throughout this Golden Age. That's what makes it fun, because it. Look at this. The roof is leaving down.
Those guys are dead.
Man. Those guys are super dead. Oh man. Oh shoot. This program's not that easy to navigate. Come on. All right. So we got the gangsters. Oh, the roof. So he literally like is so good with explosives. He can just knock the roof off this building, and they just think there's a noise and they don't even know what's going on. Oh, look, the roof is gone. Like, how do you not notice? What's that noise? Look, the roof is gone. Like, you don't immediately notice the roof is gone. That's pretty amazing.
They're all hard of hearing.
That's true.
Ooh.
Okay. So there they go. And then they're going over a bridge. And then Dynamite took him down. Yeah. Won't you tell us your real name? Of course, they can't figure out his real name. He doesn't even wear a mask.
This is before facial recognition technology.
Right. Oh, man. He's got to keep that date with Glenda. This is Glenda. Here's Glenda. Oh, yeah. And he doesn't even wear, look, he doesn't even wear glasses to hide his face. Like, he's not even pulling the Superman. He's just like, nope, I won't tell you my name. Oh, man. And there's Glenda. Glenda is quite the vixen, as you can see. So
that goes back to the shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
Blade.
Look at that back. Yeah. A couple lines. It's time for the show. All right. And we've been wondering what this panel is, because we were, we're redoing the colors on this. And look at this panel. Like, what are they looking at?
It's Braille.
It's Braille. It's pretty ADA compliant or something. I don't know. So, they're at the theater, and he's got to make a phone call. Oh, yeah. He's worried about it. Now the city's in a mass of flames. What's Dynamite going to do with a mass of flames? Of course, a small charge. Throwing dynamite at flames will fix the fire.
I did not know that. That's crazy.
The Golden Age stuff is so funny. Like, they do not care whatsoever in terms of logic or anything like that. They just go for full fun, and that's what I love about it, to be honest. I'm kind of mocking it, but it's so fun. Like, I'm just laughing and enjoying myself, and I can't do that with a lot of modern comics.
Dude, that second to last panel on the left, he got jacked. Yeah, that one.
Guns and ammunition. Yeah, looks like a real gangster's arsenal.
Look at his proportions. Like, look how tiny his head is.
Oh, I see it. Versus
that top.
He's not jacked in the top panel here. Yeah, look at that. This is like steroid After Effects. So he goes to the gangster's farmhouse, which weren't they already at the gangster's farmhouse? And they found another gangster, and he starts just like slapping the guy silly, which is fun, always fun. And then he drags him across the power lines.
Yeah, that wouldn't kill you at all.
That wouldn't kill you at all. That's so great. Oh man! And then there they are. Who are you? Oh, he doesn't tell because he's a mystery. What a international man of mystery he is. Oh, and then he sees the car and he blows up. He doesn't chuck the dynamite stick at the car. He chucks it at a water tower. So the water tower splashes on the car, and that messes up the car for some reason. It's amazing.
Do you know what I love about a comic like this? So I don't know how old Wright Lincoln was when he made it, but that's basically what like a 12-year-old would think. Like, I'm gonna have a dude who just runs around throwing dynamite and solving all the problems with dynamite.
And he's not licked yet. And so he just chucks dynamite at a mountain now. And your pal is dead, and I'm taking you back to police headquarters.
I like how matter of fact he just says that. Your pal is dead, and I'm taking you back to police headquarters. Here's your real gangster, Captain. Why John Holmes? Oh my gosh, John Holmes.
The utility magnate, of course. You're a respected man in the community. When
was this book? Was it 1951?
1951, yeah.
Because that bad guy looks like Lee Van Cleef.
Interesting, he does, huh?
Yeah.
You're a respected man in this community. Why were you associating with Dead John's gang of hoodlums? I might as well confess. I wanted to bankrupt that rival utility company, of course. Now he'd just get a fat government contract and then just that's all that he has to do these days, and then have a monopoly. Why, that fellow is Dynamite. I saw him put the fire out. Dynamite, say, there's a reward coming to you. But he doesn't want no reward because he's pure like that. Yes. So he goes back to it. And he did this all
during
intermission. Why, Peter, you must have called up your sweetheart. No need. She's right here. Aww. Aww. And that's it. That's it. He just chucks dynamite. And so in later issues, she's like, Peter, why aren't you adventurous like that Dynamite Thor I keep hearing about? And that's kind of the running gag of later issues. It's pretty fun. That's it. That's the first adventure of Dynamite Thor in Weird Comics #6, which also has weird facts. We are not printing weird. Maybe I will print weird facts in there also, because why not? In the Pacific Ocean, there are octopi. They're over 80 feet in diameter with tentacles 200 feet in length. They are nearly blind. They very rarely come to the surface. Wow. I would have never known that. Cannibals, Tim.
This is somewhat racist.
That's pretty racist.
Why does he have well, my gosh.
Why does he have a thing in his neck?
He has an afro.
A red afro, like his carrot top?
Yeah.
Yeah. Believe that eating others, they will acquire the victim's physical strength, courage, and cunning. Wow. These are facts, guys.
Actually, the cannibal, it looks like Bill Cosby wearing like a carrot top wig.
It does.
I want to eat other people and the humans.
That's a lot of rapes.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay. All right. White ants are eaten for dessert by the Araucana Indians of Brazil, who consider them a rare delicacy. There you go.
I thought that was going to be an article about San Francisco. Look at that hippie. He looks like a hippie.
I know, right? It does. It looks like San Francisco. It's probably some bat soup in Chinatown. All right. Ghost ships. Since 1840, of the Atlantic Ocean alone, 24 ships have disappeared without leaving a single survivor any clue whatsoever as to what caused them to mysteriously vanish. Ooh. And then I always wonder about this because I'm always looking at this and I read these comics and I'm like, we're talking about like ghost ships that have mysteriously disappeared without a trace and nothing. You know, we have no way to track them, no way to find them. And I was reading something the other day too, and it's like, the characters are going to these bizarre places all over the world, It was like the Savage Land, right? And it's a mysterious place in Antarctica. You would have never found it before, and all these things like you could have imagined like existed somehow. Like you don't know what's going on, and now we have like Google Maps, and we're like, nope, we're just not fun anymore. It's really sad.
Either that, or you have to really stretch disbelief. Like for example, with the whole thing with Antarctica, I was in the same boat where it's like it's hard to believe there's a place like the Savage Land where you have like a tropical paradise in a cold climate. But when you read like conspiracy theories about how like you're not allowed into Antarctica, it's like, oh, I don't know if the creators had that in mind when they thought about it, but now it's like your imagination has an outlet for being able to kind of suspend your disbelief and see it that way.
I agree. But I feel like books these days don't even try to like push those limits anymore because we're so like in the camera phone age where we can just like look everything up for ourselves, even my kids, like they're 10 and it's like, that can't happen. It's sad. We'll never get the red gods of Moodus ever again.
I had never heard of that. The red gods of Moodus.
Strange periodical rumblings and weird sounds in the village of Haddam, Connecticut are a tribute. Have you ever been to Haddam, Connecticut?
No.
Haddam, Connecticut?
Haddam.
Me either. Haddam. Haddam sounds kind of Middle Eastern. I don't know. Are attributed to angry Indian gods who still resent the white man and of his taking possession of their once sacred ground. There you go. The red gods of Moodus.
It's always the white man's fault. Even back
always the white man's fault. I know. Let's see. Fiona says, gotta love it. Enemies with hack codes. Plus, I love corny golden age stuff too. I really love this stuff. Like, it's so much fun to me. I just keep enjoying it more and more and more. I'm reading the Human Torch Golden Age stuff right now. I'm 650 pages into that omnibus, which is like 1,100 pages. They collected every single Human Torch appearance, and they did the same thing we're doing. Like they restored all of it, so like all this yellowing on the page is like bright white. All the colors are just bright now and digitally colored, and just looks great. It's just nice to read. So that's what I got my inspiration from for sure on that.
Hey, Comic Book Hut is in the stream. Does he want to come on?
Hey, Comic Book Hut, welcome. You are welcome on if you are around. Let me know. It's theater and stage. Yes, it is theater and stage, definitely. That is how they put out oil well fires, though, with dynamite. This is real. Now we know that dynamite is real, and you can solve every problem with dynamite. Love it. Sometimes things don't.
We learned a lot of stuff today on this stream.
I know. Madison Lim says hi. That's the best.
She's like in the other room.
She can come on the stream if she wants to.
She is not allowed on the stream.
She's not allowed on the stream. Oh, wow.
I have to protect her from all the weirdos who watch your channel. And I don't mean the normal people in the chat.
Not the normal people in the chat. There are people who stalk this channel, and Tim knows it very well, for those who don't know. And they're bad hombres.
They're bad hombres.
Yeah. They have to go back.
But they're not bad dudes. Are they bad dudes? They're just bad hombres.
Bad hombres. So, hey, Al, by the way, welcome to the stream. How silly some comic books used to be. It's no wonder that American kids thought that comic books were for only kids and idiots. I don't know. I love it. I think it's great. Maybe I'm an idiot, but I'd rather read this than like,
something
some dark deconstruction of dark deconstruction of Thor or something. I mean, that sounds terrible.
So that's a dilemma of, I guess, comic book writing is that, like, I own Watchmen, right? And I liked it. I liked it enough to keep it, but I can honestly say I've never revisited it because it seems like it just makes me miserable. Because
it does. It makes me upset every single time. I don't want to read that. What I read over and over again is freaking Spider-Girl, right?
Yeah,
and Spider-Girl is just like fun,
Yeah. I reread stuff that makes me happy, like that actually brings me joy because it's so either lighthearted or just wholesome. And Yeah, I don't see myself revisiting a lot of the book I grew up with in the 90s that are considered to be seminal classics. Even one that's really great, like undisputed, like The Dark Knight Returns. I think I quit like halfway through the book. I make it through the part where like he recruits Carrie Kelly, and then they're like fighting on rooftops and stuff. And the moment they reintroduce the Joker, I'm like, I don't want to see him slaughter a room full of like.
No, it's ugly. It just makes you feel bad. And then Batman's so miserable throughout that entire thing too. It's like, wow. I mean, what a hero, you know. I don't want to deal with that. I want real heroes who are just having fun and doing things for right, turning down rewards like Dynamite Thor does in this deal here. And we got David the Good in the chat. Thank you. Love that classic look. It's classic look because this is the 1951 Dynamite Thor. This is not my story. We'll get to my story in a little bit, but I wanted to open up with just like the pure golden age fun stuff, which, like I said, we are redoing the colors for this. If you go to the Kickstarter page, you can see one of the colors. Let me do that real quick. Boom. You can see, here's my Ron Friends art. Now, of course, Ron Friends, who did my cover, I mentioned Spider-Girl is my favorite comic that I read over and over again. The reason I hired Ron Friends is obviously because I'm just in love with Spider-Girl, and I just wanted him on my cover because of that. But there's my version. So mine is going to be very different. Well, I guess not that different in that he's fighting a giant tentacle monster in the middle of the Iraqi desert, but with dynamite. But you know, that's modern. That's my modern take for you. But this is what we're doing with the colors. So if you look at the page on the right, this is what it was looking like when I was showing you kind of what was going on there. You might remember this as they were going to the theater, and as it looks like they're in the theater, and then, but there's a newsboy in the theater, or I don't know. Maybe that's meant to be the theater building, the Braille part. I don't know. It is what it is. We're keeping it totally exact. So there's like this panel. I don't know what this thing is, but this is what the colors were. So we're just going to keep it like that. And you notice that like he's got his outfit here for his superhero costume. Sometimes it has a T on it. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they even forgot to put the little blast on it, and it's just a red. Wherever like they did that, we're keeping the original completely intact and just doing it that way. My colorist asked me if he wanted me to fix it so it's all consistent, and I said absolutely not. We want to be absolutely faithful to the originals. I think that's part of the charm.
How do you guys recolor it? I've actually never understood how that process takes place. You're not the one who's doing it, right? It's someone else.
No, I've got a colorist doing it, and basically what he does is he extracts all of the color out. So you've got a black and white image. Mm-hmm. And so wherever it's black, there will be black. Wherever it's colors, it would just be white. And then he's got a palette of which I tried to get him to use the Namor Golden Age Submariner palette, because Marvel restored all of their Namor Submariner pages with a certain palette. And there's only like 64 colors they could use back then. So he's basically using the eyedropper tool to grab the reds and oranges like as necessary from those Namor pages or whatever other pages to get that exact color that it was supposed to be, and then pasting it in the proper spot, and then of course cleaning up where the paste tool doesn't work very well. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a process. Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't seem easy at all, especially because everything is blended together. For those of you listening who don't know how we work digitally, everything is typically done in layers, which means that you can select like your line art versus your colors. But when you're scanning a page where there's already color on it, I've always been curious how that process works, because I can already think of one way of doing it, which is turn everything into black and white and then increasing it so you can only choose between black or white, no grayscale in between, keeping the blacks as your line art and then just filling in colors. But I don't know. That's a very imprecise way of doing it. So you're able to find someone who can do the restoration process, because that's not an
pretty
easy
cool.
task. Yeah, it's really cool.
Violetta says, the whites were never that white, though? I mean, they did put them on newsprint, so it wasn't quite as white as the paper we have now. But when we get our nice paper, I think it's frankly going to look way better on the nice white paper that we have now. It adds pop to the lettering so that you can read it a little easier. So, but that's a paper what paper you've got, sort of thing, rather than a color sort of issue.
Yeah. And some people, like, for example, I think, where newsprint can be helpful, obviously, besides the cost factor, is there is something naturally appealing about a warm tone on paper, which is why, one thing that, like, we did for Common America that we've noticed in some animation now is that people are artificially rendering their backgrounds to look kind of weathered. And it's an aesthetic choice. Also, the idea that I heard this advice from Adam Hughes. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got for drawing is that you should choose the color white and use it as if it was as precious as gold. Like, use it so sparingly, because when you have everything in white, it can really, like, flesh out a lot of your color and detail. But having a little bit of, like, off-white, eggshell, or like some version of vanilla is good, because it gives a little bit of warmth and flavor to your overall art.
Absolutely. And I think, let's see. So we've got white in the gutters of our main pages, but yeah, if you look at our white ambulance,
right.
We've got that kind of it's not exactly white,
yes,
right?
Correct.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, I love this. This is like, I'm going to use this little image here, and I'm just going to make some word balloons because he looks pretty. He looks pretty based in red pilled right here. So
he looks very jacked. So I want to ask you a question about the art that you're showing there. So is it one artist doing everything, or is it different artists? Because I know that at some point you had to have, like, a different inker to fill in.
So we've got a 46-page main story with 2 sort of pin-up covers that he did, so 48 pages. And he did the first 24 pencils and inks himself. And then he did the sort of covers, pencil and inks himself. And then on the second one, he actually got a freelancing gig, which, like, was paid. And he's like, I don't have time. I said, just do the pencils so we can get this stretched out to a full book, pretty much. And so he did the pencils, and then I brought in actually 3 different inkers over the course of it, because I just had an unreliable time getting inkers. It's really hard to keep a consistent creative team. I'm very lucky with Flying Sparks that I've been able to just, like, keep that dialed in. I've changed colorists because I've just had to over the course of it. But beyond that, like, with Jethro and the inks, Jethro's got an inker who he uses for everything. I'm very lucky I've been able to keep that going for how many issues now? We've done 13 issues together. That's pretty cool for indie comics. So we did okay. I'm happy with the pencils and inks here. I believe which ones. I wonder if you can tell which ones are his inks versus which ones aren't.
I can tell. That's not.
You can tell.
Yeah, for example.
This one's not him. That's true. Yeah, this was a different inker here. Yeah, this inker had a little thicker of a I don't know, what do you call that? A brush? It's all digitally done, so I don't know.
Yeah,
but
his hatching isn't as it's not as closely spaced together. If you look take your cursor down just a little bit where his ring finger is, go down a little bit, like you can actually count how many hatches there are. Whereas, like, other inkers, they get very precise to where you can't count it just by looking at it really quickly. You actually have to sit down and actually individually count how many hatch lines there are.
Interesting. Oh, I see it. Yep. Well, yep. And this one he did ink himself. So, yeah. So, he did what he could. And
I didn't know giant monsters in this thing. I was really surprised when I saw that.
I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So, like, originally I was like, I wanted to go full pulp, because, like, I was just like, you know what? This is such a ridiculous concept. Like, this guy is chucking dynamite and flying through the air with blasts of dynamite behind him like this. Like, with that as a backdrop premise, like, I just wanted to go full tilt crazy, So, and this is this looks like something out of, like old EC books or something, which I love. Oh man. So
yeah,
fun.
he almost like
The monster's a
satanic.
big part of things.
It's like satanic.
Yeah,
with
a little satanic. He's got the hooves, like with the hooves.
Yep.
And the and the horns, and then he's got the tentacle monster thing added onto that too. It's a really interesting. It's like 3 different monsters all like combined into one. Pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty
that's
sweet.
a neat surprise.
Love it.
So what's your fulfillment date on this one?
All right. I'm saying June, just because I haven't even worked on the printing aspect of it yet, and we're not done with the restoration of the original Golden Age stuff all the way yet. We're about halfway. Hopefully we're going to get the Golden Age stuff completely done by the end of the month, and then be able to get things rolling a little faster than that. I'm going to get the digital, like the story for Dynamite Thor is done, so I'll be able to get that out like the day the campaign closes or soon after. I promise June anyway, but you know, I'll just put it up early and all that for people. And that's gonna be it. Super. Hut told me earlier that I pulled out all the stops for this, and I'm like, yeah, I did. We did everything. We got classic Golden Age stuff. We got a freaking like crazy Marvel artist on the cover. We've got beautiful colors. Like I think this is some of the best color jobs I think we've got on my comics. And then we've got our restoration also. So I don't know.
Yeah,
you can't get more comics than that.
And you said it's a new colorist, right? Not your usual person for Flying Sparks.
Right. This is a new colorist. So I'd never worked with him before. He did the whole book, so he did. So the colors are very consistent all the way through. And I thought he just like made a very nice palette.
Yeah,
I guess
I like
it's
it.
very
It's very saturated.
very red. Yeah, very red and yellow, which is kind of what the original book has too. So,
well, was Comic Book Cut ever able to make it to this stream or not?
He hasn't responded, so I don't know.
Okay. One thing he said about you that's 100% true is that every time you do a project, you're like not scared to try something new. And by you dipping into a Golden Age hero that's in the public domain, that's kind of a risky endeavor. But
I was scared to do that. Yeah, this is one of the things I was like, okay, so I've got my own hero, and like obviously I can do my own thing, but a public domain thing, you're gonna get 2 minds of it. You're gonna get like somebody either who's like way like, cool, this is comics history, and we're gonna revitalize this, or they're gonna be like, that's not even yours. Why are you doing that? Right. And I think there is a bit of an element of that among some comic people. But if you look at the comic industry and superheroes as a whole, I mean, if you're out there buying Marvel and DC, you're reading people's reinterpretations of things that aren't even theirs anyway. I mean, that's like a long-standing tradition of the comic industry. And I like these old characters that, like, you know, they disappeared to history. Like, I mean, nobody would have known Dynamite Thor existed if I haven't been, you know, talking about it for the last year, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought it was pretty fun, and yeah, it's risky, but I've got my own thing now, and I think Chuck Dixon also proved it could be done really well with Airboy.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And not just that, but you can look through public domain characters, and there's a lot of really cool like names and designs out there, but because they were all kind of written in that Golden Age style where, you know, we were just joking about how a lot of them seem like to be written with a 12-year-old in mind. There is room to keep the spirit of the original, but also improve on it by our modern standard of like quality of writing, so to speak. Because I mean, we were looking at some too. Like, right. There's one. I think it's only 5 years from being out of public domain, but it's like Atomic Bunny. I think that's one of the ones. And I just thought like, the name
Tim, that's
cool.
Got your name on it.
I know, but I looked at it, and I think the original creator is still alive, and I think it still has like 5 more years to go before it goes into public domain. But no, I spent quite a lot of time on that site trying to look at some of the ones that look more appealing.
Atomic Mouse, Atomic Rabbit. Here you go.
Atomic Rabbit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hi kids, draw me and win. We draw him, Tim, and win.
I won't win anything.
You might.
Yeah. So not too far off from Dynamite Thor, 1955.
Oh, so he did become Atomic Bunny. So look at this. His appearances were in Atomic Rabbit, then Adam the Cat, then Atomic Bunny after that. That's very interesting. So he changed his name halfway through this to Bunny. That's pretty good.
And I've always liked you and I talked about it, but we were talking about like diesel punk, for example. I've always been very interested in like pre-1960s aesthetics, like the atomic age. I really like Disney's retrofuturism, this idea that everything in the future is going to look like the Jetsons with like Gucci architecture and stuff like that. I've always found that stuff really appealing.
Me too. Yeah, Al mentions the original Daredevil. The original Daredevil is really interesting. And if you look at Marvel, I mean, they really stole a lot of stuff from this Golden Age era. They really did. Where's my little public domain thing? So Daredevil was originally a character. Human Torch was originally somebody else's character who worked for the same company as Marvel. Of course, Captain America was a Joe Simon and Jack Kirby creation before Stan got there and revitalized it. Submariner, also like a Bill Everett creation that was very popular in the 1940s. Thor is, we're looking at Dynamite Thor, but like if you look in the first 5 issues of Weird Comics where Dynamite Thor premiered, in those first 5 issues, in issues 1 through 5, they didn't have Dynamite Thor. They had just a regular Thor in 1951, and it was a god of thunder taking over a mortal man's body and stopping evil villains and stuff like that. So was there inspiration drawn for the Marvel comics? I don't know. But it definitely existed in 1951 also. So a lot of these concepts were just, taking some ideas from a lot of stuff that was already out there and just tweaking them just a little bit until they felt a little better.
Speaking of Thor, so I haven't caught up with those videos that you guys have done yet, but I'm one of the guys who picked up Ragnarok by Walt Simonson last year, and that book is incredible. And
so good.
He still got it, man. Like I haven't read anything by him since RoboCop vs. the Terminator, which is, in my opinion, still the best team-up comic ever made. I mean, it is so good. Frank Miller wrote it. Walt Simonson drew it. It is fantastic. If you can find a trade of it, they're kind of difficult to come by, but the art is so good in it. And so I was a big fan of his, and Ragnarok, like the art in it, a lot of his backgrounds and stuff actually inspired the art in the first Black Ops book. But if you guys are listening and you haven't checked it out, I think the Huts talked about it. I know John Del Rose has done at least 1 video on Ragnarok. Pick that one up. Oh, you've done 2 already?
Yeah.
Oh, that's even better.
I've reviewed both volumes of it that are out so far. So waiting on that 3rd volume to come out. And I love Walter Simonson's current art too. I'm just looking at it and like, it's got a fresh, like actual comic book feel to it that a lot of stuff don't have. I don't know what, that change in feel, like a lot of stuff doesn't feel like comic books anymore. It just feels like 22 pages of pinups. And I don't like that. I want my books to feel like you're reading a comic book.
Well, a lot of it, for example, long time ago, I mentioned that Alex Ross is not my favorite painter in comics, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, that's blasphemy! Alex Ross is like the gold standard." And I'm like, "No, I'm not diminishing his quality as an artist, like not at all. He is definitely like an A-lister, but everything is so like almost hyper realistic with him that's not the reason why you read comics. It's also not the reason why you watch cartoons. You have some degree of artistic license. You have squatch and stretch. You have physics that don't really make any sense. Sometimes you exaggerate proportions to try and make something look more dynamic. That's why I like Gabriel Del Otto, because he's a painter too, but he does everything kind of out of his mind, and it's basically like, I'm not really caring if this looks realistic. I want to know if this looks cool. And I think Walt Simonson is one of those guys who made that transition from his like Marvel aesthetic to kind of where he is now, where he's been able to kind of refine his style over time to where it's still distinctly him, but he's also kept up with the times, where you can pick it up and you could have grown up with nothing but a 2000s level of quality in books, and you'll look at his art and be like, whoa, this is so good. And I think there's some artists who haven't made that transition as well, where they're still kind of stuck in an older way of drawing, and that's okay.
Right.
Like, that's fine. But with the way the landscape of art changes almost every decade in comics, you have to find a way to adapt to survive. That doesn't mean taking on a brand new style. It means how can I tweak mine just a little bit so that it stays contemporary.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And Walt does that. I also think, having a good digital colorist, helps. I mean, obviously, like, Ron Friends' style is Ron Friends, right? He's got that House Marvel style. But I've got Sanju Nivengune's colors on here, which is like Zenescope's like cover colorist. He does almost all the covers for those, those sexy girls and all that on Zenescope, right? And what I love about him is Sanju's got this like skin tone that it's really nice, and it really freshens things up. Yes, it is subtle, but that's really what freshens. Of course, obviously, there's the light blasts and the way all the light's reflecting off of his legs and all that, and he does a great job with the light source back here of the explosions behind them, propelling them through the air. But really, what dialed me in on Sanju and why I like using him is his skin tones. I think he does an amazing job there.
Yeah, and obviously he would, because if you work for Zenescope, they're mostly known for their pretty women, and
exactly
you have to have like. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be like my third time quoting Comic Book Hut, but he has these really astute observations. There's one, I actually wrote it down in my notepad because it's like it's like one of the
look at the like shining lips on her and the lip color and the lip gloss that she's got going on. I mean, it's just like it makes her way hot.
Well, Comic Book Hut said this. He said, as an artist, when you're drawing a female, you should draw the female like a work of art. When you're drawing a man, you draw the man like a machine. And I was like, that is perfect. Like, that is a great example of the differences in terms of how you draw the two sexes. And so, like you were just pointing out, with like the way that the lip is there, and he like, I've noticed on this cover, he also did this thing where he does what's called a color hold, and it's where he took Ron Friends' line art, and instead of leaving it black, he would actually come in with a color and just colored a line. And you can see it on the cheek of Dynamite Thor, how you can see Ron Friends' black line art, but it's been recolored to actually blend in with the shadow of the cheek without being too dark. I mean, it's stuff like that that's really cool, because you're able to kind of have the best of both worlds. You preserve the original line art, but you also get the benefit of a really good colorist too.
Hut's here to tell us in his own words exactly what he meant by how to draw here. Hut, what did Tim get wrong, and what did you mean?
Oh, it's here.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
Or not.
How you be?
Hey, Comic Book Hut, Captain Cummings, what's going on?
What's up, Captain?
Hello. How's everybody?
Okay.
What's your avatar?
I'm excited.
Oh, it's me with a hammer.
Is that really you? Like you?
Of course.
I can't tell. It's like so tiny in that little picture.
Can we make it bigger? Hold on.
There
we got it a little bigger. Is that a cigarette?
It's a candy cigarette, like a chocolate one.
Yeah, it's
cigarette's
chocolate.
illegal.
No.
Oh, of course we wouldn't condone that here. Cool. Yeah, I'm just having fun with Dynamite Thor today, and that's it. So, are there any cigarettes in Dynamite Thor? If there's not, I should have put one in. Oh well.
Exploding cigarettes.
Are you allowed to have cigarettes in comic books anymore? Is it against the code? He's got a lighter on every page. So, I mean, he's got cigarettes, right? If he's immune to explosives, is he immune to that carcinogenic, smoke or whatever? Think about it.
I mean, if he can survive an explosion, shouldn't he be smoking ethically? I mean,
that would be ironic. Like, that would be really good, like, juxtaposition. Is like he doesn't smoke and he thinks smoking is bad.
Like afterwards, just lighten up. Oh, yeah. Oh, you think the opposite? I think it's the safe approach to say smoking is bad, though. That's too safe.
It reminded me of, I was watching this clip this morning. It was The Late Show with David Letterman from 1987, and he was interviewing Donald Trump, and he was like, "Hey, what would have to happen that was so bad to get you to drink?" And Donald Trump doesn't even joke around with him. He's like, "Nothing. I'm never gonna drink." And he's like, "Oh, come on! Like, you look at the paper and it says Trump loses $2 billion, and Donald Trump doesn't say anything." He's like, "I take that very seriously. I do not drink." I'm like, there you go. He's like the same dude. So that's what Dynamite Thor is.
Yeah.
He's like, smoking is bad.
That is, except
okay.
Dynamite Thor definitely drinks. Dynamite Thor likes beer. He drinks beer. So
does he drink beer in the book?
On screen.
On screen?
Yes, I am drinking beer in the book. So yeah, so as he's about to like go out and fight the monster, he throws on his uniform and he cracks a beer real quick and then downs a beer and then goes out and fights the monster.
If he's drinking alcohol, wouldn't you want to like use that as a way of shooting flames out of his mouth?
Oh yes.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I would have, but I didn't want to do that. I have to have him being pure with his pure power of just like propelling through the air with explosives. So that's it.
He basically can have like Molotov cocktails. He could be like drinking a bottle of alcohol, and people are like, "You're all out of dynamite," and he's just like, "Nah, I got alcohol. Alcohol's fine.
I got it right here." Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Were we live when I told you my idea for concluding a book of Dynamite Thor?
I don't remember. We got just from the chat. Al Nickerson was in the chat, and he just said he got a sketch, like a real quick sketch from Walter Simonson recently, and and he drew this for him from Ragnarok. Pretty cool, nice stuff.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah, I was listening to you guys talking about him before, and I think that his style is so unique to him that I don't think it gets out of date. I think that's what it is about him, that he hasn't aged in terms of the style. It's very unique.
Yeah.
To him.
Yeah, and it's so crisp. Like every time I see him, it's like he gets better. And there's some people who I admire. Like I like their art, but for some reason, there's just something about it that just hasn't aged well in terms of them trying something new. For example, like John Romita Jr., his recent run on Superman, I'm like, it's just not right. Yeah,
it doesn't feel good. Yeah,
guys, you can look on YouTube. There's a lot of interviews with Walt Simonson because he's very friendly. He does all these interviews with people, and
should I try to get him on here?
Give it a shot.
I'll try.
He's
Why
on
not,
Twitter.
right?
He updates like every other day.
Yeah, I follow him on Twitter. He's always posting stuff all the time. He's very active.
Let's see. I'll message him.
But if you get him on your show, he'll talk for like a half hour, and you won't have to say much because he'll tell you
I like
the whole
that
process. He'll give you the whole process.
I much prefer that.
Just do a search on YouTube. You'll find all kinds of interviews with him. But really, like academic interviews too.
Those are good. There's a lot of brain food.
Yeah.
Now, Hut, I don't know if you heard it while you were in the green room, but that comment you made, I actually wrote it down because it was so astute about the differences in how you look at drawing men and women. And the best way I heard it before I heard you simplify it was from a Japanese art book. And they said, when you're drawing a woman, think about a down quilt or like a fluffy pillow or something. Right. Like that's the texture you have in mind. When you're drawing a man, think of like a sturdy wooden table. And I was like, oh, that's one way of putting it. But when you simplified it, I was like, that's even better.
I mean, to simplify even more, you could sort of say, you want to draw a woman like she's an oval, and a man is like a box.
Yeah, or a triangle, like an inverted triangle.
Right.
All right. I just so a woman's like an oval, and a man is like a. I guess that exists right here. So she's kind of got that ovalish. She's got a square chin though. A square chin or flattish chin.
No, because her
ovalish.
I just have to look to it.
Yeah, her head is tilted up, and when the head is tilted up, the chin will appear as a natural, like square.
Oh, got it. And then his is definitely a little blockier as a shape than hers. That's interesting.
Even look at the hands. So if you look at her hand, very slender, very slut. and then look his hand more defined, lots more lines in the knuckles.
Mhm.
Yeah. Interesting.
Even with the
I love it.
clothes, you could see it. You see the thin lines in her blouse and these big bold forms.
Interesting. Yeah, I love it. This piece really is a nice. You could teach femininity versus masculinity just with this right here. It's pretty
Right.
great.
So I
So
swear, I think your colorist literally put a bulge on Dynamite Thor.
did my colorist do it? Let's see.
No, he did. I can see a separation. You see that? There's like a little. Even Captain Comics sees it. That's not bad.
You gotta have a bulge.
His name is.
You got to have the bulge.
Come on.
Yeah, he's got a big stick and he's not afraid to use it. So, what do you think about the feet drawing here, Tim? Did Ron Friends do a good job on the feet?
It's good. It's good. A lot of people give grief to artists for drawing feet. All the artists in the 90s drew feet the same way. Mark Bagley's feet on Spider-Man, they're ridiculous. There is no human foot that looks like that, but no one cares because you get the idea. Like he has that. I like the way he draws feet. He kind of draws them as like almost like flippers, so to speak, but it works. And I think Mark Bagley is one of the greatest artists from the era and up until today.
I love Mark Bagley. I've been reading. I was reading Quasar. I did a review of Quasar. Do you remember Quasar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Mark Bagley did a couple issues of that, and this is in the late '80s, and it was before Mark Bagley really dialed in his style, and so he was much closer to that Marvel House style than like later when he kind of separated in that Ultimate Spider-Man kind of way he draws things. It's very interesting to watch that versus, I read a lot of his later work, and I'd say he's up there as one of my favorite artists. He again feels like comic books, right? He's got that feel. It's not a realism sort of feel, but it's a very dynamic comic booky feel. And yeah, it was interesting to see like his progression from that point. I don't know when his first credit was. When did Mark Bagley start?
I think in the late 80s, I think.
So it might have been close to that.
Yeah.
Quasar seems like an assignment as a fill-in issue that you'd kind of, that'd be one to put some random guy on, right? In '83, Jim Shooter created the Marvel Tryout book. So Mark Bagley actually came in '83 and he won first place for penciling on the Marvel Tryout book. That's how he came in.
Yeah.
And let's see.
I believe it. His pencils are, even without inks, because there's some artists where their pencils are so loose, the inker has to come in and kind of do the lion's share of work. But he's one of those guys where if you look at his penciled pages without inks, they're great.
You ever see Kirby's pencil work?
Yeah.
I think it's better than the inks. I think the inks.
Oh, it's neat. I just got a book called let me pull it up. It's called Dingbat Love Kirby. And I'll be reviewing this soon. I just finished reading it this weekend. And it is it's some unreleased Kirby stuff, which is, do we have previews that look good on here? But they've got just dang it. Stupid internet. Anyway, they've got like actual just regular pencil drawings on here. And they show some of that, like some of it versus the inks, and then versus they add colors on it. So it's a really nice book in that you'll get side by side pages, and like they do a whole story of like whatever he left behind versus whatever they added to it to finish it. Sometimes, like I said, it's inks, sometimes it's colors, and it's pretty neat just to be able to see that process right there from Kirby himself. This is. It's a weird title. They call it Dingbat Love, and you think that's kind of a weird deal, but there's actually 3 different series that he was pitching here, which is True Life Divorce. Yeah. I'm dead serious, and it's just about no wonder that one didn't go to print, right? Who wants to read that?
Well, Wolverine would have rallied against that, as you can't be having divorce in the social specter.
This is the 70s, so I think I don't know. And then Soul Love, of course, which love. You know what that means. So he got hired, and he got hired to write like this, like they wanted to do a African-centric romance comic book, and they're like, Kirby, you do it. And Kirby's like, why do you want me to like do a like Black-centric romance book for like teens and early college kids? Like, I'm a 56-year-old Jewish man. And they're like, just do it. And he did it anyway. So that was it. And then the Dingbats of Danger Street. So they call it Dingbat Love, like it's one title, and it, they should have just called it Unpublished Kirby or something.
So the last one is like Thing.
The last one isn't. It's not romance at all. It's like his newspaper boys. You know how they're little rascals or something like that, and they like solve crimes.
It says Danger Street. So, is that like Yancey Street? And it would have been like the Thing before he turned into the horrific monster.
Absolutely, just like that. So they're like in a little rough neighborhood. The kids all have backstories where there's problems with it, and so they all have nothing to do with each other. I'll do a full review of this, but yeah, it was really cool to see Kirby's pencils in this. Is what it is. It was my point of that. We got some more Kirby pencils here. Yeah, look at that. Cool. I don't know. I like Kirby. I've got a package. Speaking of which, speaking of Dynamite Thor's package, right here. I've got it right here, and it's obviously a comic book, and it might be the greatest comic book of all time. We're gonna open it right here live on the air. It's not what you're thinking, Tim. It's not what you're thinking. I haven't got that yet. This is pretty great. We're talking about great comic book styles, guys. I'm going to show you something fantastic here. Look. The Marvel Universe by Rob Liefeld with Cap pitched on the cover himself. Oh,
how much
yes.
did you pay for that?
I paid $40 for this $100 graphic novel. Yeah.
Did you know?
So there you go.
He took it looks like he took the Captain America that people comment about all the time, and it looks like he remastered it.
Yeah, it's different.
Like in a good way?
I think they took the chest down a little bit.
Yeah, he shrank the chest.
They totally shrank the chest a little bit. It still looks wonky, but yeah, interesting.
And I think he tweaked yes, he did. He tweaked
Pretty Cable.
He tweaked Cable too. He gave him better trigger discipline.
So yeah, I'm super excited for this. So this compiles X Factor 40. Uncanny X-Men 245, What If number 7, Captain America 1 through 6 when he did his Heroes Reborn crap, Avengers 1 through 7, which was Heroes Reborn also, Wolverine 154 through 157, and Onslaught Reborn number 1 through 5. I never read that. And then a little bit of Amazing Spider-Man stuff, Marvel Comics Presents stuff, and Heroes Reborn number half. So we got a lot of interesting reading here. I don't know how much of this is actually going to be good. I guess the old Wolverine stuff's probably good. Onslaught. Did you ever read Onslaught Reborn, any of you?
I quit reading Marvel Comics after the Onslaught Saga. Not because I didn't like the Onslaught Saga. I just figured it was a nice kind of bookend to everything.
I didn't really
I was kind of done. I was done at that point. I was mad at the Fantastic Four specifically. This is one of my mad at Marvel events. So obviously Spider-Man like really made me throw everything out the window with one more day. But I really liked Tom DeFalco's Fantastic Four. Did you read that back in the day, Hut?
Oh yeah, loved it.
And it had Elijah. Paul Ryan. And Paul Ryan was doing Quasar, which I just did. Before that was doing Quasar. So I was just reading his book, and he was good the whole time too. But I really liked that Elijah Johnny Storm relationship that was going on in his run, and I thought it was really neat. And they just kind of blink erased it once Onslaught happened, and then just reset everything. Yeah, and that I hated that the reset. It really does. So,
if anything, the Onslaught Saga.
I eventually warmed up to Mark Waid's run after that because Mark Waid did a really good job. Sorry.
If anything, what the
Onslaught Saga
did is it just pointed out that the two. It's like X-Men and the Marvel Universe have a difficult time coexisting. Ironically, I kept on reading X-Men after the Onslaught saga.
Yeah.
But I pretty much gave up on the other Marvel titles after that.
Interesting. I gave up on everything but Spider-Man at that point. Because Spider-Man wasn't really impacted by it, right? And it was in the middle of a Clone Saga.
The Green Goblin was, and that made me mad.
Yeah. The Green Goblin then came back, and that pissed me. Bringing back the Green Goblin was the biggest mistake they ever made. Biggest mistake they ever made. They shouldn't have done that. Oh well.
No, I disagree. I like the Green Goblin. I like Harry Osborn. The only problem
you like them bringing him back?
I did. The only problem is they overuse him, where they have him where it's like, oh, he's always the mastermind behind everything, and it's like, no, that's just lazy writing right there.
John is gone again.
I know his internet's like weird now. Our internet just got upgraded yesterday, so I know connection problems are no longer my fault. So that's a good thing.
Usually I have problems with my streams all the time.
There was one I just listened to the one that you did, and Captain Cummings was in the chat, and I think it was the last live stream you did, but you were talking about something, and it just gets cut off like right.
Oh yeah. I was talking about these public domain characters. That's because John told me about these different things, and I started looking into it, and I'm getting interested in telling a couple stories with them. So I was talking about them, and then it just sort of cut out.
All right.
I kept talking, and then I realized it died on me.
It's that New York internet that has to do what it is.
Yep.
My internet cut out too. Maybe it's StreamYard. I don't know.
It's not StreamYard. It's whatever your internet connection is.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Dang it. I can hear you guys fine.
What are you talking about? Can you literally hear us? I'm guessing not.
Yes, I can literally hear you.
Put a finger up if you're okay.
What?
So I have a question for the Hut. What happened to get Rob Liefeld to block you on Twitter?
Oh, you know what happened was somebody was asking me about this brigade, and I asked him, "Can you and people have been waiting forever for it." And he keeps telling people, "Oh, it's getting shipped. It's getting shipped." I was like, "Well, you have a customer that's asking about it. Can you talk to him?" And he goes, "No," and then he blocked me.
Oh my gosh!
Just like that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know that.
Well, I don't like him. I don't like Rob Liefeld anyway. I call him the luckiest man in comic books. Because I always felt that he had no talent, and he just sort of fell on this piece of, you know what, and he got all lucky, you know.
A lot of it is like that too in the industry. Sometimes lightning just strikes the one time.
I think he's one of those.
Yeah.
He got into the industry and people bought his books.
Right. One person liked him, and then he got in, and then the style was so different. It didn't matter if it was technically lousy, and that he really couldn't tell a story with pictures. And you saw how bad Youngblood was when he didn't have a writer on it. It was bad. It was so bad.
Can John Del Rose hear us?
Well, I'll let you know how the Marvel Universe by Rob Liefeld is. I can hear you guys totally. And people in the YouTube or in the chat can hear me also. So it's strange.
I can hear
Very
you.
weird. I'll come back out and back in again. You can. So Tim can't hear, but you can.
No, I can hear you. I think there's a delay.
There's a weird delay.
Funky.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, internet problems are getting annoying, so I'm going to just close this out by saying back Dynamite Thor. The reason we're up on the stream now is I'm trying to get this going. We want to get this funded and want to get this book into your hands. We've got a great story. The main story that I wrote has Peter Thor, the third, who is the grandson of the original Dynamite Thor, in Iraq as a reconstruction volunteer out there, who is obviously a demolitions specialist, and he is not loved by the locals for his demolitions abilities. And so hijinks ensue, and giant monsters ensue, and he has to fight terrorism, of course, because that's what good red-blooded Americans do, and they provide freedom, and and that's the main story. So we've got it's a 2-part story for now. I aim third part where I'm back to America and then start a secondary storyline there. And so if this does well, I would happily continue the story, and I'm sure Donald Kent would also happily continue the story. He told me that he would love to do another one of these. So if you guys want great superheroes that are fun based on old Golden Age classic stuff, this is where to go. Let us know. Vote with your dollars, and let people know that you love comics and you love heroism. Anything else at the end here, guys? Let freedom boom. I love it.
Oh, let's promote Napalm Brothers real quick, because I know Scale might be listening.
I'll throw that up.
She giving herself an ultrasound?
Looks like it, huh? Here's Napalm Brothers. All right.
Yeah,
this is fun.
If that gets to $1,500, the backers will get an ash can, a 15-page ash can. So it's a little under that right now. I think it'll get to that.
Sweet.
I think so too.
Excellent. We'll definitely get there. Enjoy that. And of course, Back Common America. Also, I put that in the description down below, which is Tim's book. So Tim, take us out.
Yeah, we're doing very well with Common America. We're kind of tuning down the marketing for it because we've already exceeded our goal. It's a limited campaign, which means whatever's up there is up there. I don't know if I should spoil it on this channel or not, but next week we do have a reward tier that will be going up for an extra 30 standees. So what we're doing is I've already made the order for the books as of yesterday morning. I already wrote the check and everything. So I know how many extra copies we're going to have for conventions and for an Indiegogo campaign. So what we're having to do is we're having to dip into our convention numbers to try and supply what we can. So if you see the number go up next week, please note it's not because I'm printing extra copies. I am dipping into our reserves to try and make up for it, since we have about 24 more days. But we're happy where we are. I mean, it's just a matter of just waiting for these things to sell individually, and just look out for that update. Hopefully I'll have something to show by Monday, but I think some of you might know because everyone's been asking me for it. So I contacted Brian Ball over the weekend, and he got me a very good deal for a manufacturer, and we got that all ironed out. So hopefully I'll have something to share by this time next week.
All right, rocking. You're kicking butt on here, I see. Good work.
We're doing very great. We're doing great. Thank you.
Doing a great job.
All right. Yeah. All right. Cummings, how are you doing? Anything you want to sign off with?
No.
No.
Hey, Captain, you have a cold?
Yes. I got the flu last week.
Oh, boy. Drink a lot of
coronavirus confirmed.
Yeah. Drink a lot of fluids, man. Keep yourself warm.
Lots of beer.
The Hut was sick like last week, too. I remember you were like, I have the sniffles.
Yeah, I still got it.
Terrible.
But you sound better. That's the important thing.
Yeah, I feel a little bit better today.
It was pretty funny. I made my wife drive me to the doctor, and then when we were coming back, I was like, the doctor said I should drink plenty of beer, plenty of fluid.
Hey, beer is a fluid. That should work, right?
Yeah. Actually, they said don't drink any beer.
Oh, doctors, what did they know?
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning into the stream. I hope you had fun, and check out the books, and have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know if these guys will be back tomorrow. You never know. I just send out the links. Sometimes they show up. Sometimes they don't. Who knows? And we'll be on Edwin's stream in like 4 hours.
Oh, yeah. I'll be on there too.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'll be driving and picking up my kid from baseball practice. So it'll be a very interesting stream on my end. Yeah.
All right. Everyone tune into that.
Cool. All right, guys. And I did message Walt Simonson. So if he says yes, he'll be on. If he doesn't, then he won't. Goodbye, guys.